Outposters, and welcome to another week, another Sunday afternoon of Outpost Frequencies. Not George Lucas isn't here today. He's had some personal business he had to take care of, but we wish him well. He should be back next week, but we'll see. I mean, things happen. We all have our daily lives. But with me, as always, is Sean. How are you doing today, Sean?
How's it going, buddy?
Hey, not bad, not bad. I'm going to put up a Christmas tree and teach my son to drive and spend some time in the hospital later on, I imagine. Just preparing for the worst,
Always keep a tourniquet in the glove box.
Anything could happen. Anything could happen. You just don't know. So, it's been a quiet week. Entertainment-wise, been very quiet. There's not been that many shows that have come out, and I did finish up Doom Patrol, which is probably my favorite DC show right now, because it is really quirky and weird and bizarre, and I dig that about it. It's quirky, weird, bizarre, kind of a fairy tale aspect with it, but a whole lot of F-bombs. So... What more could you want? And it's got Brendan Fraser as a robot.
Tits, maybe.
It would be nice to see a couple. That April Balby is very pretty. She plays Rita Farr, Elastigirl, or I think that's what they call her. But
wait a minute, Elastigirl, isn't that from The Incredibles? That can't be the same name.
I think it's Elastic Girl. I think it's like the whole world. Whole word, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
She's the Doom Patrol is a very weird, esoteric. If you look at them, it's like that looks like the X-Men because like their leader's in a wheelchair, and they're all misfits with bizarre powers. But it's not because they were born that way. It's because the guy in the wheelchair did some shady shit and brought them together because he made them that way, but they didn't know it. So fun stuff.
What is this on?
It's on HBO Max.
Oh, okay. I don't have that. I dumped that one after like the first month of trying it.
Really?
Yeah.
I really like HBO Max. I think they got a pretty wide variety on there. And then you got all those HBO shows that are really good. It's not the new ones, of course.
I mean, it was fine. I just found a website that had all the same shows streaming, that wasn't
Hey, my matey.
So, I mean, am I going to pay almost $10 a month for that or that and not $10 a month?
No. This is why we have this show, so you could come on and safely admit your felonies. So, speaking of shows, Hawkeye is not doing well. It's not doing terribly. It's just doing the worst of all the Disney shows. It's still getting a fair amount of people watching it, and I feel like this is the Han Solo syndrome all over again. Because the other shows have had such problems or have been disappointments. I'm looking at you, Falcon and Winter Soldier. Loki, I liked fine.
I liked it all right, yeah.
I liked fine. Yeah, it could have had... It has its problems. And WandaVision I really loved until they completely shit the bed. But so far, Hawkeye, I think, has been the best of them.
That's probably why. So is it ratings or
ratings?
Ratings or viewership? I guess is what I should have said. Is it
aren't they the same?
Well,
or are you talking about like critical ratings?
Yeah, like critical ratings.
I don't know what the critical ratings are. Maybe I think the viewer we could look that up on good old Rotten Tomatoes because that's a worthwhile site. And see if they have, let's see what they've got for that. Hawkeye, 92% on Rotten Tomatoes and 79% audience score. I'm not really clear on why the audience doesn't like it as much. Haley Steinfeld is great in it. I just like her because she's down. She's a great archer and she's got a lot of fighting skills, but she is no Mary Sue. And she even admits it. She's like, thanks, Hawkeye. It's like, you've stayed with me even though I keep making mistakes.
Yeah.
which makes her just so eminently likable. You can't help but root for her because she keeps admitting that she's not Rey from Star Wars, or
Right.
she's doing all. And then Jeremy Renner's just likable in and of his self, is just the world weary, what the hell am I doing here kind of guy.
Yeah.
Just wants to get back home to his kids. There's a scene in this last episode because he can't hear anymore. And they said, and it was kind of a nice gag. Says, how come you can't hear anymore? And then they just show like 10 scenes in a row of him in the various Avengers movies where there's just explosions and noise just going off next to him all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, hazard of the business. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense actually.
Yeah.
But his hearing aid gets busted in a fight. And he has to get it fixed. And while they're waiting for it to get fixed, his wife calls. But he can't hear, so he puts her on speaker and she says, and she kind of comes in. It's all very organic. He doesn't ask her to do anything. She wants to help him. So she writes down, no, it's your son. And then you can hear the phone like, because they're kind of from his point of view. Yeah. And then she'll write something down. And he wants to know if you'll be there for Christmas. And there's a long pause. He says, I'm going to try my best. And she keeps writing down what the kid is saying. And it's one of those moments. It's like, it's a very simple moment and there's not much to it, but it really works. It just makes you go, oh man, you just with that whole scene. And all these kinds of little moments, I'm loving it. And of course it has a bunch of nonsense in it too. Action nonsense, but it's fun action nonsense. At one point, they're having a car chase and she's firing arrows and all they got left are trick arrows. And one of them, is like, it shoots Play-Doh all over the front of the car, which is actually pretty effective on a windshield. And another one, he says, just fire this one up in the air. She's like, this is just a normal arrow. It won't do anything. He's just do what I said. So she fires it up straight up in the air, and then it arcs down, coming down towards the truck that's coming after him. And he fires, and you can see on the arrow tip it says PIM Industries. And so he fires at that arrow. When that arrow gets hit, it turns into a skyscraper basically coming down on the truck. And so
I wanted to check this series out now. You kind of sold me on it just from that.
That was fun. I was like, she just fired a building at that guy.
That's pretty neat. See, that brings that's the weird thing about it, though, that you really have to kind of suspend disbelief, because it's like we're in a universe where PIM particles exist, but Hawkeye's using the same grenade the VA issue gives him instead of some Tony Stark nanobot new eardrum technology. So that's the. But
he's just using a regular old eardrum. Yeah. Nothing beyond that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm just weirdly, given that the universe that it's in, it feels the most grounded.
Yeah.
And it's also got it's got a little bit of heaviness, but the heaviness is all about a guy just wants to get home to his family, which is a lot more relatable than these weird political issues that they keep trying to, I mean, who hasn't wanted to get home? Why does planes, trains, and automobiles resonate after 35 years, right?
Right.
Guy just wants to get home to his family for Christmas. And
so is he, what is he just not going to make it home for Christmas because is there something that's happened that these two have to stop, or is he just sticking with her because he wants to make sure she's prepared before he leaves?
He wants to help her, and the reason why he has to help her is because she put on the Ronin outfit that he was wearing back in Endgame.
Yeah.
This thing was getting auctioned off, and then some people came and tried to steal from the auction. And there's a bigger thing going on here because I know the Kingpin is coming from the old Daredevil series from Netflix. No. Yeah. So there's more shit going on here.
So they turned her into a street level hero.
Kate Bishop, I think, has always been that. I don't know much about her in the comics. I know she was in the comics. She was a protege of Hawkeye. That's about the extent that I know. Yeah. But when she put on the Ronin outfit, everybody got the wrong idea. And he feels responsible because he was Ronin. He didn't want anybody to know he was Ronin. So he tells everybody that Black Widow killed Ronin. It's like, Black Widow, the one that, smashed her head on a distant planet 5 years ago, back in time. I can't corroborate your story. How convenient,
What a pal. He is.
Yeah, just blame it on Black Widow. She's dead. She's dead in the past. I mean, everybody's dead in the past, but you know what I mean. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot. There's probably a bigger thing going on here in a mystery, but the reason why he's staying is because he has a responsibility. He feels a responsibility. He doesn't want somebody to get hurt because of him. Reasonable. Good man. Even though he basically tells her, I'm no role model. I'm not somebody to look up to. And I think that's because the whole Ronin thing really weighs on him. And now that his family's back, he's got to carry that. Because for 5 years he went down to a dark place because his whole family disappeared. All of the motivations are all very understandable, right?
This is kind of the first thing that's really shown any kind of like consequence from the disappearance of those people, from the movies, right?
WandaVision did a little bit. They showed everybody coming back in a scene, like a flashback scene with the day that everybody came back.
Yeah.
And of course it was chaos because everybody freaking came back.
Yeah.
And then the Falcon and the Winter Soldier tried to make that a center point. Like, everybody got displaced that had started to make their lives because there were so much fewer people. People that had been displaced before were now displaced again. It didn't wash. It didn't hold water very well.
Yeah. That's probably the consequences of something like that really happening is probably a little too deep for the MCU to actually.
Well, no, the problem is too deep for children who are writers now to figure out, because these children want to make it about current day politics. And these are very different circumstances. This world may have been basically our world in 2008 until Tony Stark put on the suit, right?
Yeah.
And after that, they're on a different path from us. And all those current world problems that we have now would not make any sense when you know that there are aliens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That that aliens exist.
And that disappeared half of the population.
You disappeared half of the population. One of them did that to you,
Yeah.
That there are gods out there from Norse legends turn out to be real. I mean, all of this shit would drastically change. I think the whole Muslim Jewish thing would, be like, you know what? We got bigger problems now.
Yeah.
I think that the whole Palestine thing will get fixed in a minute because, now it's humans against what's out there. Right. And I think we would come together a lot more. And I'm not saying we wouldn't still have problems. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the problems would be so much different than the way they show it.
Yeah, it goes from something like that to an existential threat every day of the week, more or less.
Yeah. You're pissed about the Jews, and then a green monster comes through and destroys your house. Suddenly, that became a very silly thing to think about.
I've always wondered in the comic book why anybody would ever live in New York City and Marvel continuity, because
Spider-Man kind of has to, because
do you
the
think
suburbs are a terrible place to try to swing.
Do you think you could even get life insurance if you worked in New York City if you live in the 616 universe? Nobody'd insure you.
No. I think there's hasn't there been some, what do they call it? There's been some comics that they've written there, kind of like the police that come in after the heroes do their thing. And the life insurance company has to come in after they do their thing, or the property insurance and all that shit. Like they have to deal with the mess that the superheroes leave behind.
Yeah, they touched on it a little bit in the first Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland.
A little bit.
Yeah, well, they introduced that concept.
Damage control.
Damage control. Yeah, I was trying to think of the name of it.
Yeah, actually, I found that to be very, very plausible. It's like, some guy that kind of finally gets this big contract. The government and the giant corporation comes in and shuts him down. Yeah, it sounds about right to me.
Yeah, that made him one of the more, relatable villains, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was pretty good. He did a pretty good job in that.
Yeah, I liked the the two Spider-Man movies now. I have a feeling I'll enjoy the third one quite a bit. It's one of the few I'm actually looking really forward to.
It's the only one so far that's made me consider breaking my vow of watching any more movies after Endgame. I might, especially if I hear that Tobey Maguire and what's his nuts is in it. I'm not that I was a big fan of him, but I would like to see Tobey Maguire on there again. I might have to go see that.
Well, it's kind of one of those movies. It's kind of one of those things that like when you were kids, like it was one of those things that you always wanted to see happen that would never happen. Like, wouldn't it be cool if Superman beat up the Hulk? Well, they're in different universes, dickhead. Well, I know that. They'll never make that story. And then they make that comic and you go, ah! You freak out. Now they're doing it with the movies. It's like, wouldn't it be cool if Tobey Maguire Spider-Man could meet Tom Holland Spider-Man? It's like, oh, it's happening? Oh my God. The problem is that every time they actually do these things, then those things are no longer that special.
Yeah. I saw a lot of online comment about how people that are upset about the MCU introducing the multiverse concept, and I don't get it. That's been in the comic books almost from day one, and it's such a mundane part of the comic book history on all these things that I don't get the hate for it. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's a good get out of jail free card for writers that writers. Yeah, maybe, but part of the neat thing about comic books is the multiverse. You can get different versions of the same character and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I mean, there's some fun stuff. Like the whole, I remember when they started making superhero movies. Of course, Superman was the first one, right?
Yeah.
I know there were others before them, but really the birth of the modern superhero movie has got to be Superman 78. And after that, they would make these movies, and I kept, they make a Batman movie, they make a Hulk movie, they make a Spider-Man movie, they make an X-Men movie. And it's like, they never, and I kept thinking they're all in the same universe in the comics. Wouldn't it be nice if they were all in the same universe? Then we get to Iron Man. That's exactly what they did. Mm. And then now that's the big thing, right? Shared universes. It's all one big deal. I like it. I like it in concept. I think Marvel was really, I know DC did it with Justice League and stuff, but it was pretty, like, they had the team comic.
Too rushed.
Well, no, I'm talking about like back in the day, like in the in the 50s.
You meant the movies.
I'm talking like the movies we'll get to, but the comics back then, they were very much, I guess you would call it, like you had the Justice League comic, you had a Superman comic, and nary the twain would meet. Superman would be in there with the group, but it wasn't like they flipped in and out of these different books. That was something Marvel kind of more came up with. Like in the second issue of Spider-Man, he goes over and visits the Fantastic Four, right?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff didn't happen in comic books prior to that. So Marvel came up with the first shared universe idea, and then DC kind of adapted to it later on, which wasn't too much of a stretch. But they just, for whatever reason, they just didn't really do it prior to the 60s. And then, you have the Crisis on Infinite Earths. You have all the different, universe-changing things. You have these event comics. That was a thing that Marvel came up with, too, was the event comic.
Yeah, the Secret Wars, I think.
The Secret Wars, yeah. Crisis on Infinite Earths was a response to Secret Wars. As I recall, I could be wrong, but I believe Secret Wars came out first.
I believe so, too.
And so that now there's event comics like every year, every
summer, yeah.
Which really are now they're not events anymore. Crisis
Yeah.
on Infinite Earths was special because you hadn't had something like that for ever, if you ever did. And even the ones you did were very, very small in scope. Secret Wars and Crisis were very, very special for their time. Now they do them, like you said, every year, so they're not special anymore. So I don't know. I'm just saying that maybe that's what I'm worried about. It's like we're going to do the shared universe. We're going to bring in Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man, Garfield, and all these villains from these different Spider-Man universes. Won't that be cool? Yeah, it'll be cool. It'll be special the first time. If they do that with Batman, and then they do it, later on with, all these other Marvel movies and DC movies, like they bring back the CG version of Christopher Reeve and fucking DCEU. I'm going to be like, okay, enough,
Yeah. I think that might be some of the problem with the Hawkeye series too. It's not anything wrong with it, but too much. Too much Marvel Cinematic Universe content. I think it's possible people are just getting a little bit burned out on it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's maybe there's an issue with the last two movies, Shang-Chi and Eternals, and really Black Widow for that matter. None of them have been great. Shang-Chi's probably been the best of them as far as just I was entertained, but I don't think. I mean, Eternals was pretty bad.
I've heard, yeah.
It was, yeah. I mean, Eternals is like a giant misfire. It's like, boy, that might have been fun. There might have been some things going on there if they could have executed worth a damn, but instead, nothing. So
it doesn't feel or look like a Marvel movie. I haven't seen it, but just from the trailers and clips I was like, this is. And maybe they were going for something different to be like, oh, let's break the Marvel cookie cutter. But man, it just don't.
I think part of that is the source material because the Eternals is. So Jack Kirby came up with the New Gods in the DC universe. That's where you get Darkseid and all that. And he did. I guess he wasn't able to finish that, and he went over to Marvel and he did the Eternals, which was kind of like their version of it, but it never really. It never became the thing that the New Gods did. I mean, everybody knows about Darkseid. Nobody knew about the Eternals. Or you had to be deep into comics to know about that. And even I had heard of them, but I can't say that, I might have seen them guest star in some esoteric comic here and there, them talk about them, or they were advertised in the comic that I was reading, that kind of thing.
Yeah, same here.
But I didn't know jack shit about them.
Yeah, it's a little too. Not my cup of tea anyway. On that sort of that part of the Marvel universe, comic wise, the Silver Surfer and Quasar and that kind of stuff. I was more like, meh,
Yeah, the Fantastic stuff was always, and part of it was a lot of that was introduced, I think, in Fantastic Four, some of it in Thor, and those were two that I never read that much.
Yeah, same here.
I was Spider-Man, X-Men, pretty generic comic book fan, I guess you could say. It was with the popular stuff. Yeah. So, well, let's see. I don't know. It's been a little quiet this morning. If you're on and you want to chat, please do in the live chat on YouTube. Let me go to the control room. It says
I see 4 people watching.
4 people are watching.
Stop being so quiet.
We're happy that you're here. So
you want to move on to the Alec Baldwin watch?
Well, Alec Baldwin still at large, still armed and crazy. So Alec Baldwin got on the George Stephanopolis on ABC. Two known liars, lying all over the place. I mean, I'm sorry, it's the press. It's ABC. It's the corporate. I don't even call them mainstream media anymore. Call them corporate media.
Yeah.
And if they told me the sky was blue, I'd have to go outside for confirmation because I'd be skeptical at that point. So Alec Baldwin says he didn't do nothing, and pretty much threw the armorer under the bus. Says he didn't pull the trigger. I'm guessing it was a ghost. It was the one-armed man.
Yeah.
I don't know. He came across very credible.
He's a good actor.
Because, yeah. And the whole time I was thinking he's making a good show of this. I was going to say, I think that this year the Oscar goes to Alec Baldwin for his performance in George Stephanopolis' interview on ABC News.
Yeah.
I found it to be, he didn't take any responsibility. He did not check the gun. He admitted he didn't check the gun. Said it wasn't his fault they didn't check the gun because he trusted other people. I'm like, you got a gun in your hand. You don't trust anybody but yourself.
That's absolutely correct. You don't. If somebody hands you a gun and says it's empty, you got to check it. You don't take anybody's word. A lot of people have been shot by empty guns.
Yeah. So I blame him for that, and I blame him, and he basically blamed the dead girl for getting shot. It's like, well, she told me to point it here and to do this. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, man, she's already dead. You want to kick the corpse some more? The only thing I want to take devil's advocate on is he says he says he didn't pull the trigger, that his finger was on the side, and that there are some witnesses that are apparently collaborating on or corroborating that, I should say. Could be collaborating. I don't know. He's got a lot of money.
Either or in this case.
He could be paying. We don't know
yet. Yeah.
So he pulled the hammer back, and when he let go of the hammer, it went forward.
And fired, he says.
And fired, which fired the gun. Do you find that credible?
No, I don't, because the gun.
For our new listeners, I apologize. You are well versed in guns. You own guns. You have guns. You are trained.
It's my job to write about guns. So
okay, so I want you to understand this isn't just some asshole like myself just talking about guns and rarely, if ever, fire someone doesn't own any. You have a lot of experience with this. So
yes,
with that in mind, what is your assessment of his?
So the gun he used, it has something called a transfer bar safety on it. And even if the gun, even if what he said happened.
What is that? A transfer bar safety?
It's like, imagine a little piece of metal. There's a little channel at the back of the gun, just wide enough for the hammer to fit in between. And that would strike the firing pin.
Right.
Well, a transfer bar is something, unless you're holding down the trigger through the whole sequence of events, when you pull it back and then hold it down, this bar will come up, and it'll block the hammer from hitting the firing pin if the trigger's not pulled. So imagine you're cocking it and you're sweaty or whatever, and your thumb slips it halfway. That bar will come up and stop it because the trigger's not being depressed.
So it's a kind of like a double safety. You can't pull the trigger unless the thing is cocked, and you can't let the thing go forward and fire the pin without pulling the trigger.
Right. The trigger has to be held back before the thing will clear and let the hammer hit the firing pin. And there other parts of it will stop, even if you get it 3/4 of the way. If it falls, it'll still fall at what's called like a half cock. So you cock it just a little bit. That's when you hear in movies, you'll hear like click when they'll, you don't just hear like one.
Even all they have to do is raise the gun up and it makes that noise somehow.
Yeah.
I hate that. Like sometimes they'll raise it and then they'll lower it, then they'll raise it and it'll do it twice. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? It's just some Foley guy going.
It sounds like somebody's rattling a cup full of washers or something. Like, man, it sounds like that thing's going to fall apart. It makes so much noise.
Yes.
But so it's not, that would have blocked it. And I've thought about it, and I can't, and I'm not saying it's impossible, but I can't think of a sequence of events that would let him cock the gun and it stay cocked and then it just slip without him touching the trigger. So once you've got it, it ain't going to, it's in position, right? It would take nothing that you could do by just holding it would do that.
Sure.
So even if it did, what would cause the transfer bar safety to fail, not move up, and still let the hammer? I don't know. It's just now people say like, well, the old ones didn't have that. Yes, but he was not using a first generation Colt Peacemaker. He was using a replica made in Italy in at the 60s or something, I think. And those all have transfer bar safety, just like modern. Anytime you see a revolver,
it's not like the camera's going into that part of it. It should stay safe.
Yeah.
So let's be devil's advocate here. He doesn't. There was not supposed to be a live round in there. He was told there was not a live round in there. There's a live round in there. Somebody who is on the set and knows that what's going to be happening in that shot, maybe they don't like Alec Baldwin. Maybe and there's, believe me, I understand that.
You're saying Trump snuck onto the set.
Trump snuck onto the set. He's tired of the SNL impersonations. He's had enough. This is going to be amazing. The best conspiracy ever put together. Beautiful.
It's beautiful. Never one like it.
Never, but it's tremendous. So they if they're going to go take the time to put a bullet in there, maybe they take the time to remove or disable or screw up that transfer bar.
Well, but it would not have cocked and stayed cocked for the amount of time.
But he said he held it with his thumb the whole time. That was the point.
Yeah.
Until he let go of it.
Yeah. Well, why would you do that though? Because he said like, oh, she wanted to see if you could see it be cocked. And so
well, it's on a little spring, right? I mean, you could just flip it. It flips back forward at the spring tension, right?
Well, yeah, but it would hold in place, and he would feel that, right? And
I mean, look, somebody's banking on Alec Baldwin to be a moron, so I think that's a safe bet.
Well, that's true.
The guy clearly is not checking his guns beforehand, right?
Yeah,
he's been doing this forever, right?
Yeah, he's been in action movies. I don't know how many times. Probably been to all kinds of like little 1 week Hollywood courses to get an actor up to speed by some guy that knows something about something.
I think this is all very far fetched that I'm coming.
Yeah, I do too. Okay?
It's a lot, but
I think he cocked it and probably just without realizing it because he's not paying attention. He's not 100%. His mind is on that, and it's very likely he touched the trigger.
How sensitive is the trigger fired in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, it's people that don't handle guns all the time, especially people that don't care, and it's only going to be something that they got to fool with for 10 minutes, and then they're probably never going to pick up a gun. It's almost impossible for them to not touch the trigger. It's like they can't help themselves. It's so natural when you're holding something for all of your. That's the big danger with guns, right? Is that it's very natural when you're holding something to all of them, right? You don't, I don't pick up this bottle of water and naturally keep my, like that. I mean, if I was not George Lucas,
agree, and I'm saying that I don't look. My bias is I think Alec Baldwin is a complete and utter prick, and I am of the opinion that he was irresponsible. I don't think that there was any intent here, but I do think he was irresponsible, and there may have been a lot of irresponsible stuff going on that set. There may have been a lot of bad blood, and certainly I have seen. I mean, look at what Jussie Smollett tried to pull off with an astounding amount of incompetence, right? But so betting on an actor to be dumb and incompetent and working around that to your advantage is not the most far-fetched thing I've ever come up with.
Anything is possible in clown world.
Yeah.
So,
and these people are not. I mean, I'm saying that I don't know what happened. There'll be an investigation. We're all armchair quarterbacking this thing, and we really don't know. But it's easy to say it's all Alec Baldwin, and he's guilty, and he should probably be put in jail, or at least manslaughter or something like that. I don't know what the law is in this situation. I really don't.
Yeah. He obviously did not on purpose load a live round. So despite his negligence and cavalier attitude
Right.
probably towards gun. He did not go like and but you know. So I don't know, but whoever loaded that live round, if they find out that person is going to be in some serious, probably, arguably, maybe even more trouble than Baldwin himself will be in over this whole thing. Of course, he's a celebrity and he has the correct politics and
Well, yeah, that's a whole nother thing. It's like,
yeah,
well, how are we going to handle this?
yeah,
Um, is he going to get the same damn um, treatment that, say, oh, I don't know, a Kyle Rittenhouse would get?
yeah. Of course not.
Right. I mean, Kyle Rittenhouse had all kinds of stuff on video that was pretty much open and shut. And before they even had done the investigation, they had charged him. So, I mean, I think that's a broader situation of how the powers that be treat people in the tribe versus people out of the tribe instead of equal justice under the law. I'm not saying that maybe there should or shouldn't have been a trial for Kyle Rittenhouse. I'm saying, well, I don't think there should have been.
Absolutely, no, there shouldn't have been. That was the video.
It was pretty open and shut.
Yeah,
but they capitulated to mob rule. They capitulated to tribal, the CNNs and all this other stuff. And these same people are sticking up for Alec Baldwin. But that's a different set of behaviors and problems that we need to deal with on those levels. The question of Alec Baldwin, of whether he or not he should get charged based on the law, is what we should be talking about here.
Yeah.
And I don't know yet.
I don't know.
We could come up with these. Did somebody put in a bullet, disable the gun somehow? Well, I guess it's possible. Yeah. I don't want to say one way or the other because of my antipathy towards Alec Baldwin to say he's absolutely guilty or absolutely innocent. I do, however, find it intriguing and interesting to figure out, well, okay, here's the two choices. He's telling the truth or he's lying.
Yeah.
If he's telling the truth, then how could this have happened?
Yeah. So I think that he carelessly touched the trigger off at some point, but I don't believe he loaded a live round. He clearly, and actors don't load their guns before, unless they have to do it on camera.
Right.
For the scene. Actors, they are given a gun and, this. So he obviously wasn't in his trailer like, all right, here. Oh, what's this one in my pocket? We went out shooting last week and I'll just load, it's highly unlikely. I mean, why would he do that himself anyway? But how live ammo even got us? I think that's an interesting question too. So I wonder if there wasn't some, and maybe you've heard on this because I haven't, but I wonder if there was some like little, after we're done shooting for the day, let's go out and shoot these guns a little bit on the back 40 and have a little fun with them.
I think there was some of that. I'm not certain. That, I don't know that there's never live rounds on a movie set. I mean, like, let's say they're doing the target shooting, right? Guy shoots the guy, hits the, maybe for realism, they want to actually shoot some bottles off of a fence or something, right? And if they're a good enough shot, and you've got time that day, you just set up the camera and let them keep shooting until they shoot the bottles. That's cheap. It's cheaper than setting up a bunch of pyrotechnics. Maybe not as cheap for labor costs and that kind of stuff, but I don't know. But let's just devil's advocate. I don't know that is it completely unheard of that they would never use live rounds in certain situations? I don't know. Probably not in gunfights or something. But like, I don't know if they're in a the scene calls for a target range and you're actually shooting at a target range, then just fucking use live bullets. What difference does it make?
I don't know. Because once a bullet leaves a gun's barrel, there's no, like, people don't understand is like there's no 100% certainty what it'll do. That's even true. Though most of the time it will do what you pointed at, but you never know. And especially when they hit something other than air, they can react in the craziest ways. I shot at something, a steel target, which for the range and the type thing, it's safe. Normally it's safe, but fired it directly, come back and hit me in the cheek and laid my cheek open directly right back. That's that's so rare, but you don't know. You really don't know. There's no predicting them when they hit something. So
No, it's true. I
you know.
remember my friend shooting BB gun at a tree. BB came back, sliced me through the shoulder.
And you remember what happened to Ralphie in Christmas Story?
Yeah, he shot his eye out. And that wasn't planned. So I don't know if
they might have had an attitude like, yeah, sure, let's do, so it's possible they were, so I don't know.
I'm fairly certain there was not supposed to be a live round in that particular
scene. I would say
if you're aiming at the camera lady's telling you, I just find it abhorrent that he sat there and basically threw the armor and the camera lady that he killed under the bus.
Yeah.
That was like, wow.
It's just like watching that interview was like watching him give a statement or he had his lawyer there with him to give a statement to the police that had been carefully combed over, to try to.
Did you find it hilarious that in this 45 minute interview on national TV where he throws these two out of the bus, he started out with, I know I need to not make it all about me. And then he fucking pretty much did that the entire interview. I mean, what a piece of shit. I'm sorry. I feel like his behavior in this interview just kind of cemented my opinion of him as a complete piece of shit.
Yeah.
But that still doesn't make him 100% guilty in this.
No, I don't think he's,
I think the only thing that we can be certain of that he's guilty about is A, not checking the gun before he picked it up.
Yeah.
And B, even if the camera person is telling him to point it at her, don't point it at her.
Yeah.
I think those are the only two things that I can say with absolute certainty that he did wrong.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Now, what does that mean under the eyes of the law?
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, tell me on the comments.
Until then, if you're going anywhere near where Alec Baldwin's stomping grounds are, wear a bulletproof vest. That's all you can do.
Yeah,
he's still out.
He's still at large, armed, dangerous, and completely crazy.
Nobody said anything about taking his gun away from him, so we don't know if he's still. If anything, this might encourage him to be like, "Yeah, do you think if they go back to shooting that movie, he'll carve a notch in the handle of that pistol?
Got one. Let me tell you about the last director of photography that didn't make me look good. That's harsh. Hey George, it's okay that you're not here. See you in the chat. We get it.
We're not cool enough to hang out with anymore.
That's true. Were we ever? So yeah, I don't know. I mean, Alec. It's funny how this just keeps going on, but it's an entertainment related story, and I find the whole thing kind of fascinating because it's there's a lot of easy emotion to throw into this because it's easy to hate on Alec Baldwin. And then there's people, the tribalists, the insane lunatic left who love him for whatever reason. And, you can put all this together and you say, well, in the end, what's the real problem here? What's the real outcome and what needs to be looked into? All I know is that this poor girl didn't need to die.
My take is the same. I wish I could take credit for this myself, and I should, but I won't. My favorite take on this whole thing has been a comment I read the other day online where a guy said Trump should forget about running for re-election and star in a movie called The Rise and Fall of Alec Baldwin and play Alec Baldwin. And I thought, now that's a good idea. That would be pretty entertaining right there.
Playing Alec Baldwin. Hey, coffee's for closers, okay? It's for closers.
I don't care what you say. I'm carrying live ammo on this. I'd like to see the Donald Trump version of the docudrama of how
he pulls out a howitzer, because it's got to be the biggest, man. He's sitting in the thing. Which way do you want me to point it, bitch?
Now that would be a good Saturday Night Live skit if they had balls.
I'm pretty sure it's too soon yet. I think this is. I think I've already passed the bounds of bad taste.
There's no such thing as too soon. Well, I mean, in my
Well,
opinion.
have we figured out anything with this shit? I don't think we have.
Nah, it's fun talking about it though.
All right. Hello, Anunnaki crown. And he's putting clowns up there.
Yeah.
And then we won't even talk about this other chat. I know what that is. That is spam if I've ever seen it.
We need a moderator for that.
Yeah, we do.
But then again,
that's me.
It's making a compelling case, though. I don't know. You sure that's a bot? Because I don't know.
Pretty sure.
Okay. Shoot my hopes down on that. All right, what do we got up next?
Well, let's again, I was going to go through some news, but it's just been a slow news week. The only thing I found interesting, and then I was horribly disappointed to find out it's just a play and it's not even playing anywhere near me, is that Jaws play where the three guys are playing the three actors that are playing the three guys in Jaws.
Yeah.
And how Robert Shaw is being a complete twat. I'll tell you, the guy that's playing Robert Shaw is his son.
No kidding.
Holy shit. It's like he's back to life doing this. It's like the same damn guy. He is a spitting image, and he sounds exactly like
he did. Yeah, when I saw the picture, I was like, man, they really found a guy that looks like Robert Shaw. Now I know how they found him.
Well, yeah, it's his son, and not only does he look like him, I've seen guys that look just like their dads or something like that, but then they're what do you call it? Their voices are just way off, right?
Yeah.
Not this guy. This guy sounds, looks, spinning image. I mean, he could, if they ever remade Jaws, they wanted to recast Quint, this guy could do it.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't even know. You think, wow, they dig up Robert Shaw?
Well, he was so drunk so often, he's probably pickled enough to where if they dug him up, he probably doesn't look very different than.
So I really like the trailer, and I guess it's a play that's running in London now, and I don't know if this is going to go around the States or if it's been in the States. Maybe those of you that are on could tell us, but I would really love to see this because it looks like a heck of a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's not a musical play, is it?
No. I think it's more of a, one of those. Very like some plays they'll switch scenes or they'll switch sets and things like that. And this, I think, is just three guys sitting in the boat, talking in between takes because the shark is broken and all that kind of stuff, and them just arguing and riffing and doing different things that happened while they were waiting for 3 hours for something to happen. And it's more than enough to fill up a stage play.
Have you ever read? There was an interview with John Milius years ago where he was talking about, when he wrote the famous Indianapolis speech.
Yeah,
and he's telling this in the interview where Spielberg apparently called him and told him what happened, and he came in drunk one day, and they wanted him to rehearse that speech.
This is
and apparently. Yeah, Shaw.
Yeah.
And apparently he had just got caught by his wife nailing the babysitter the night before, and that's why he's drunk. And Milius is telling a story about how he does that speech, and I can't remember very many of it, but he says like, the shark bites into you, and then eyes roll over, and they're dead and black like your wife's eyes when she catches you with the babysitter. And so he's saying all this kind of stuff in place of the shark. If I can find that interview, I'll. It was on. I forget what site, but it was the whole interview, and that was part of it. It's so funny. You could just imagine Shaw, drunk, eyes, red, bloodshot. It was so funny.
What a legend. What a legend. I did like in the trailer there, finally Shaw says, do you think anybody will be talking about this movie 40 years from now?
Which is on my list of perfect movies, by the way.
Perfect movies. So that is thank you. Very nice segue, sir. We were going to talk about perfect movies here today on Last Movie Outpost. So a couple of weeks ago when we talked about Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is definitely not a perfect movie, we decided to talk about perfect movies. We kind of got to talking about it, saying, well, what would you call a perfect movie? So first thing, before we get into your list, and then I'll give you some that I have thought of. I didn't really write anything down, but we'll come up with something. Our lists are probably not that far off anyway. How would you define a perfect movie?
I would, it's like the definition of pornography. It's hard to pin. It's hard, yeah. When you see it, I guess it would have to meet a few criteria for me. First, it has to be completely engaging all the way through. No. Now it doesn't have to be an action or thriller, but it has to be engaging. It has to be something that I can rewatch endlessly and never get tired of. And everything, like, there can't be any like bad performances or that sort of thing in it. No, it's okay if special effects don't stand up to these standards, but they have to be serviceable. And I think that, and the story has to be a good story. It just, I guess that sort of would how I'd sum it up.
I would say for me, a perfect movie is one that I can put in after I've seen it a million times, and I still am suitably entertained by it as I was the first time.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean the movie is perfect, and it may be. It may be something that is universally loved, or it may be something that's perfect for me. I'll throw one out there that I get enjoyment at every time, that sits at a whopping 38% on Rotten Tomatoes, and that's Days of Thunder. I absolutely friggin' love that movie, and I don't know.
No kidding, I would have never guessed that.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't either. But I mean, if you like Top Gun, then what's not to like? Because it's basically the same basic story beats as Top Gun. Second of all, Robert Duvall is friggin' awesome in it, and that's probably a big part of the reason why I love it. And it's guys being guys. As much, the good parts and the bad parts of being guys.
And it does have going for it not the gay volleyball scene.
No, there's no gay undertones in this movie.
Yeah. So it probably is.
That movie is so gay that Tom Cruise's girlfriend was named Charlie. How much? What else do you need, man? I love Top Gun. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's funny. You can see it at surface level, which is a guy's movie of guys being guys flying jets and blowing shit out of the sky, and then you can see it with all the gay undertones. And either way, it's just enjoyable. In every sense of the word. But yeah, Days of Thunder doesn't have any of that. And I won't say it's a great movie. I can't say that at all, but it hits all the right beats. It tells basically the same story. You got great cast. You got Michael Rooker. You've got Carrie Elways. You got, of course, Tom Cruise, Robert Duvall, John C. Reilly's in it. I mean, there's a hell of a cast. Nicole Kidman in her prime, who's adorable. And you got guys driving fast cars. It's the only time NASCAR has ever been remotely interesting to me. Kind of like boxing with Rocky. Yeah. So I don't know. To me, it's like one of those, I'm always entertained when I watch it. I agree. It's not perfect. It's perfect for me because I always enjoy it every time I watch it. Now, I don't watch it that often, but if it comes on, I'll probably end up watching it. And I was like, yeah, this is fun. I never find any real fault with it. I like it when Rooker and Cruise kind of, they start out as rivals and they end up becoming friends. And the way they become friends is that they're supposed to go to dinner to hash it out with the adults, basically.
Yeah.
And he says, you guys are going to meet us for dinner tonight. And they're like, I'm not going. It's like, yeah, you are, or you're not going to drive NASCAR anymore. So Rooker says, well, I'm not going to let you drive me to dinner and you're not going to let me drive to dinner. So there's only one way to get to this. And they both rent cars and then they beat the shit out of the cars, racing to get to dinner. And then once the cars get there, they're just steaming wrecks. But they worked out their problems, Yeah. Too close to call? Yeah, I'd say so. I don't know. All those kind of little details in it, I just love. Certainly not at the top of anyone's list, including mine. But, again, is a perfect movie. I think obviously my point is that it's very subjective, and it's whether or not you can watch it every time and really enjoy it. That being said, there's probably movies that we could say that are at the top of everyone's list and are considered classics that are probably more appropriate for this discussion.
Yeah, we probably should have a part 2 where it's movies that we love but nobody else likes, kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
That would be. Yeah, I have a lot of.
Or
those.
movies that everyone loves except for you heartless Philistine.
Yeah. So what would be one of your picks that's sort of that you think is a perfect movie that's also kind of universally agreed upon?
Raiders.
What is it?
Raiders
of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, perfect movie.
I would agree with that. Yeah, it's got yeah.
It never. The trilogy is almost perfect.
I would say that the trilogy is perfect. I like Temple of Doom.
I do too.
It gets short. It seems like people short shrift it, but it's fine. It's as good as the other ones.
Yeah, I don't mind Willie Scott. She acts like a woman would act in those situations.
Yeah,
I know because I'm married to a woman, and I mean her the top of her entertainment period is Hallmark Channel. So I'm pretty sure if she was in a bug-ridden tomb, she'd be screaming like that as well.
Let me tell you, if I was in that bug-ridden tube that they're in that, I'd probably be.
Oh, totally! I'd be pissing my pants too. Yeah,
those things are some pretty gnarly looking.
The guy was ripping out a guy's heart and showing it to him, and then it caught on fire. Yeah, I'd scream a little bit myself. I'm not putting down women here. I'm just saying that's more in line. And I didn't, in a weird way, she was almost, Willie Scott, I'm going to kind of go off on a tangent here, but Willie Scott in her own way is a strong female character. Because as much as she hates it, as much as she complains, she still does it all.
Yeah.
She still does, she still pulls the lever, even though she had to reach in there and get covered with bugs. How much more strong is that than the one who comes on and just kicks everybody's ass and doesn't crack a smile or a frown or an expression doing it? Why? What is compelling about that? She is scared to death and she still does it. I would submit to you that she's a much stronger female character than most of the women that they put on screen now that they call strong female. She's stronger than Captain Marvel.
That's a fact, yeah. Yeah, I agree. And she's at least just as much used to Indy as Short Round is in the movie, so
yeah, I think she's great.
She's not a detriment at any point, really.
Everybody gets mad because she's annoying as hell because she screams all the time. I'm like, okay, I mean, yeah, I get it. That would, but they kind of make light of it, and it's kind of the point. And I think she gets short shrift in those movies. I think she's better than people give her credit for. I think she's been done wrong. Willie Scott, you're all right.
Yeah. See, we're all about women empowerment here.
That's right. So yes, I would say the Raiders. Raiders is definitely a perfect movie, and the other two are mostly perfect, if that's a thing. Like mostly peaceful.
I really like Last Crusade a lot, and at one time I would have told you that was the best of the three, but I don't know. I mean, Sean Connery's in, so it's hard not to be.
Yeah, it is. It is great. I don't know. It kind of teeters sometimes into a little farcical with. It just almost crosses. It comes right up to that line where you go, cheesy, stupid humor, but it never quite crosses it. Yeah, that never happened in Raiders. The humor in there was always awesome.
Yeah, the one of the problems is they make Marcus into too much of a fool in it.
Oh, I don't like that at all.
Yeah,
and they take away his dignity, and that's not good.
Yeah, that's a weakness of it for me.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. That's the only thing I disliked. Even Sala, they kind of took away. He was a little bumbling, but you knew it was an act because when he was sitting there with Indy, you felt like this was a guy who really knew his shit.
Yeah. I mean, he keeps going to him for help, so obviously he's ultra competent.
Yeah. So bringing down those two characters to make Indy look better, I don't know. I don't think that was quite as necessary, but it never goes too far.
Yeah, it comes close.
like there is a point where Marcus whacks a guy over the head with a shell,
Yeah.
and Hindy's father squirts him in the face with the pen, and Sala, he's able to keep up as far as the horse riding and things like that, and he has his moments where he's punching people. So I mean they come close, but they still have their moments.
Yeah. It dangerously close. You could say, really.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it very easily could have went a little too far with it.
You never have that moment where he just gets into a sword fight, just shoots the sword guy.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, he's a much more borderline anti-hero. Well, I guess he kind of is an anti-hero in all of them.
He's just a little rougher and a little more self-serious than he is in the other one.
Yeah, you don't. And the other ones, you get the sense that he wants to really preserve these things just because of history. And the first one, he's pretty. You get a more mercenary vibe from him in the first one.
But I think you get even more in the second one.
Oh, for sure.
And it kind of makes sense because the second one is technically a prequel.
Right.
So you kind of, if you watch them in chronological order, you could see him kind of change.
Yeah.
Because of the things that happen until he becomes much more of a guy who wants to be, an archaeologist rather than a grave robber.
I've always wondered why Indy could see, a guy pull a still beating heart out of a guy and it bursts into flames and all this stuff. But then by Raiders, he's like, oh, all this religious mumbo jumbo. It's like, dude, you just saw a year ago. That's one of the craziest supernatural things ever. But now you doubt this. I don't understand why you're so skeptical of these things all of a sudden.
Even so, that it wasn't like Raiders. The magic in Temple of Doom was not like the magic in the Raiders was, freaking giant cyclone in the sky, guys' faces melting down to nothing, ghosts all over the place, right?
Yeah.
And in this one, the guy takes out a guy's heart and it burns in his hand. I mean, you could probably say, well, there was a lot of magician sleight of hand bullshit going on. You can talk yourself out of it.
Yeah, that's.
I had taken some hallucinogenics, and I mean, there's things that could be much more easily explainable in Temple of Doom. The glowing rocks is a little bit iffy, but then you get to Raiders. It's like, fuck, here's a cyclone in the middle of the eye.
Yeah.
Here's ghosts, show me how we did that in 1930s technology. Right.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think that by the time he got, as he worked his way through, he's kind of like, okay, now I've seen some shit. Like I wasn't sure beforehand. I could kind of talk myself out. People are good at denial, right?
Yeah.
But then after Raiders, like, well, I can't deny this shit anymore, can I?
Yeah. Especially by the end of Crusade, you think he would have converted to be like a priest or something instead of going on for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. He would be living in some monastery trying to tell everyone, convert before, there would be who could go through that and be like, nah, I'm still going to go be a womanizing. I mean, I'd probably start going to church more if I lived through the Last Crusade plot line,
Yeah. I mean, it's the real magic was how they survived the raft out of the plane. That's the magic.
That was I love that scene though. It's so fun.
Yeah. That scene is pure bullshit, but it's fun bullshit. So Raiders, perfect movie. I already said Ghostbusters 1 is a perfect movie.
Yeah. The Thing we covered back on Halloween. Yeah, that's
Thing is definitely a perfect movie. I think E.T. is a perfect movie.
You think so?
Yeah, I never not enjoy that, and that may be part nostalgia eyes, and part that I was exactly Elliot's age when that movie came out, and I was just as affected as everyone else in that movie that saw it. I mean, E.T. was everywhere for like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Little cute. I mean, it spawned The Mac and Me, where you get to see a kid in a wheelchair fall 8,000 feet. Yeah. It's a perfect scene. I love that Paul Rudd uses it every time he comes on one of the late shows.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I want to show you my new movie, Ant-Man. The kids fall in the wheelchair. Ah! But yeah, I think E.T. is a perfect movie. I think it also is what gave Spielberg the balls to make things like Empire of the Sun and Schindler's List and some of his more important movies that he continued to make. You know,
His other comedies.
Yes, Color Purple and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. No, I mean yeah. Oh, Munich, laugh a minute. I'll tell you what. No, seriously. I mean, I think it's the bridge movie.
Yeah.
That got him to try more serious stuff and get away from the popcorn blockbusters in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
He still continued to make them, obviously, through the 80s. Finished the Indiana Jones trilogy, the Jurassic Park. Of course, he made Jaws. He made Close Encounters. Done a lot, and he produced a lot of that kind of stuff too. But I don't know. I mean, I just think it's. I mean, it's got a lot of underpinnings in it. You know, kids dealing with divorce, abandonment. It's not in your face, which I like about it. Spielberg actually was one of those guys that could make blockbuster movies and still understood the idea of subtlety.
Yeah.
And underpinning. A lot of people don't see this in Jurassic Park. I remember when Jurassic Park came out, they were saying, oh, the characters are paper thin. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's all about a guy learning how to deal with possibly becoming a father one day.
Yeah.
You know, and there's all kinds of little moments that are like parenting or procreation imagery, right?
Yeah.
I love the scene, like they show all the eggs, right? They show the eggs and then the footprints leaving, you know, from, because the eggs have hatched and all the little guys have gone, you know, children leaving the nest, right? And then when they find the car after it had fallen out of the tree, Ellie goes, looks for the car. She finds the car. It's all cracked. It's empty. And you can see Alan and the kids' footprints leaving the car, right? Yeah. Imagery just keeps reinforcing itself in that movie. I think that's why it's one of those, and Jurassic Park is a perfect movie, by the way. I think it's one of those that continues to resonate because it has all these subtle little underpinnings, because it's all about him becoming a father figure to Lex and Tim. But that's really what that movie is all about. Hammond is about birthing a new species or rebirthing a new species. He's the father of the park, right? And a bad father he is.
Something I've always wondered is the scene that seems so like it's there and then you expect follow-up to it, but and it's been a while since I watched it, but the scene where they go and they find the Triceratops and it's sick, and the female scientist stays, and
yeah, she's very maternal about it, and he's kind of standing back.
But what is that? Because they make it into like, oh, this thing's sick and we can't find it, and she's so invested on trying to figure out what, and you think, oh, okay, and like this is going to lead to something else, something that's going to go wrong, but then there's no real follow up.
No, that's about her immediate maternal instincts.
Okay, that makes more sense.
And she's also a botanist. It's also the moment where you can see, wow, that's a really big dinosaur they're working with there. Because they built that one. That wasn't CG, which was cool. And she's looking around for the, you know, what could be poisoning it. She's looking at the different, like lilac berries and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, you notice he follows her, but he doesn't, and he attempts to keep the kids back and fails. Yeah. Right? See, all these little moments. He's like, Tim, stay back. Tim doesn't listen to him, right? But he immediately subconsciously starts trying to father Tim and Tim, whose dad has left him, I guess. If I remember right, there was a divorce thing there.
I think so, yeah.
And so he doesn't have a father figure, and he kind of latches onto him, but also kind of rejects him sometimes. All these little tiny moments. Yeah. They're all, you know, what's it? Red Letter Media says, you might not notice it, but your brain does. Yeah. That movie is full of that kind of stuff.
It's definitely one of Spielberg's favorite tropes. You know, the the
Yeah.
dysfunctional family, the dad ain't around or something. It's so common in these movies, even ones he just produces on or something.
Yeah, the only one I think that he does, and I think that's after he had become a father by that time. One of them I think that I love the movie. It's almost a perfect movie. It would be Close Encounters. I love that movie, except for the fact that I wish he didn't have a family.
Yeah, he just abandons his wife and kids to go fly around with the aliens without giving it a second's
Yeah.
thought.
And Terry Garr is like, I mean, they kind of make her out to be like shit.
Yeah.
But I'm like going, why wouldn't she act like this? I mean, she tries with him.
Yeah.
But he just keeps getting worse. And pretty soon he's digging up his yard and throwing shit into his house. It's like, yeah. I'm out. And I'm like, well, I don't blame her for being out, you know?
Yeah, her reaction is completely reasonable.
Now, when you're watching as a kid, you're rooting for Roy the whole time.
Yeah.
You're rooting for Neri, and you want him to find that thing, and she's just a mean bitch, and you know. And
women ruin all of our fun.
Yeah, and he intentionally makes the kids out to be the most annoying kids in the world. You know, they don't want to do nothing. They don't want to see Pinocchio, and the one kid's over there just banging something for no reason, bang, bang, till the father threatens death on him. And you know, it's like you did everything you can to make the family feel, you know, be shit. But I'm like, how much is that your fault, asshole?
Yeah.
You know, as you get older and you become a father yourself, you know, and all the failures that I've done. So I'm yeah, it's one of those movies that I used to think was perfect, and now I still enjoy it for what it is and for what they try to do. As far as everything else around it is beautiful, and even his reaction and all that is beautiful. If he had been single, it would have been better, I think.
Yeah. It kind of puts him in a real. He's like, man, this guy's a real shitheel. You know, But you know, he's also suffering what's obviously some sort of imprinted compulsion that he can't even control. You know, the rest of them. So you know.
No, I agree. I mean,
you can kind of forgive it by going, well, these aliens have put this thing in him. His willpower can't. But like you said though, maybe he made the wife and the kids so obnoxious to kind of take the sting off of people. Things like, hey man, he just abandoned a perfect wife and kid. You know, people might have noticed it better. I don't know. Maybe he did it on purpose that way.
Yeah, I'm sure there's something to that.
Yeah, I saw a documentary about him about 3 years ago on HBO, and he said that he was not a father time. He said if he redid that movie, he would not have done that. You know, after he became.
No, yeah, I know. He's definitely he's definitely said I wouldn't do that again because he's become a father.
Yeah.
That was what Red Letter Media's point was about Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, how bloodless it was, and that he showed all these interviews where they said, well, Spielberg's a father now, and he's got kids, and he's we're not young anymore, we got grandkids and all this kind of stuff, and why they didn't say it overtly in the interviews, his take with that is that, yeah, he's not going to want to make things that he doesn't want his kids to see anymore, like maybe he did back in the day. You lose your edge when you become a parent. And that's not a bad thing, but it is a bad thing for some of these movies that you used to make. You need to let go of them and let somebody else, make them. Close Encounters, great movie. Perfect movie. Close. Jaws, perfect movie.
Absolutely, Jaws. Yeah,
I can watch that anytime, and I love it every single time. There's not a wasted moment in that movie.
It's just it's engaging from start to finish, and I love the switch halfway from this serial killer slasher movie Shark to adventure on this boat.
Yeah, When the John Williams music swells up, and they're chasing the shark, and it's very swashbuckling. I'm just going, yeah, you get him.
It's great.
I'm in it. I'm all in.
It's a great movie. It
is a great movie. Boone, I just want to grab a chat here or two in between all the spam chat. Aggie says, family over, so I have to pick up tomorrow. That's fine. Just jumped in, fellows. Boone's beta unit. Raiders is miles and miles above either sequel. Lily Scott had me out of Doom when they ride the raft out of the plane. Crusade was self-aware. I'm fine only with Raiders. I don't know. I think you're being harsh, but
Yeah,
to each his own. The
he's a
depiction of
perfectionist.
family life in CE3K was pretty realistic.
Yeah, well, he's not wrong. Some of hey man, I'm sorry that you had to grow up that way.
Yeah.
That's all we'll say on that.
Yeah. Possible. Back to the Future, perfect movie?
Oh yeah. Back to the Future. Yeah, I think it probably is. I don't enjoy it as much as Back to the Future 2, but man, I like it. So
I don't know. I think it builds up flawlessly to that end. Yeah. And you just love poor Doc.
Yeah.
Doing his best. Like, he has to get up there. Finally he gets the thing plugged in and it pulls out the other end, and just the look on his face like, oh, he's trying so hard, and it works,
it is great. Yeah, it's a perfect movie. Yeah, you're right. It's been a while since I've watched it.
Yeah.
Second one, I think I think the sequel is a perfect movie too. I like it a lot. The third one, when together, I would call it a perfect trilogy. In fact, it may be the
perfect trilogy.
Yeah, it might be like the one that's, but
I don't know, Lord of the Rings maybe.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings would be another one.
Yeah. But Back to the Future 2 and 3, I used to like 3 a lot. 3, I don't enjoy it as much.
Yeah,
as I used to. It drags and it gets a little too self-serious. I don't know. I mean, it's a good movie. I like it, but 3 definitely has a drop off in.
There's a weirdness to it that I don't know. It never did. It does not hold the same place in my heart as the first 2, But when you take it together as one big story, then I would say as a trilogy, it's a perfect trilogy. Not the perfect trilogy, but it's up there. It's one of the few trilogies pulled off that's just about immaculate.
I would agree. There's nothing terrible about any of them. They're all great. Just 3 just kind of drags a little, kind of has a little too much self-seriousness here and there.
Yeah.
But still good.
It has the weird problem of why didn't Doc just go get gasoline out of the DeLorean he hid in the cave for Marty to find in 1955? That would have solved. I don't know. I've never been able to quite overcome that.
Maybe it went bad. I don't know.
Yeah, he'd only been there,
a week.
Yeah.
No, he'd been there for 8 months.
Yeah.
So it may have gelled up by then.
I don't know. Yeah, that's true.
Because he would have filled it up in 1955.
Right.
I don't know. I'm reaching.
Or maybe it would have disrupted the.
You can unravel time travel shit to the nth degree if you want to. It's very bad. 2 Stallone movies I find to be perfect movies. The first Rocky and First Blood.
I agree with both of those. First Blood especially is an absolutely masterpiece of a movie.
It is. It's a shame that Rambo became basically a cartoon character.
Yeah.
Although he has his own cartoon show in the 80s, for Christ's sake.
I remember that. I enjoy Rambo 2 a lot.
I do too.
I don't look. First Blood is almost like its own little pocket universe. It's a legit serious film, and it is great.
His nervous breakdown at the end, basically, is so well done and so moving. A lot of people like to give Stallone shit for various reasons as far as his acting ability, but when he really wants to, he could do some, and it's in the right part. He could do some great stuff. And definitely he was amazing at the end of that movie, just completely losing it. And I understand that a lot of Vietnam vets had wrote into him and felt like he had given a voice to the feelings that they could never really expressed properly.
Mm.
Even if they weren't, terrible
Yeah.
messes, that there was a more amorphic or hard to define, feeling that these guys had, especially when they come back and they're called baby killers and all that
Yeah.
other, no, another vile crap. So it's really tremendous. But I mean, and then Rocky the same way. I mean, he created a character that's just for the ages.
Yeah.
In that first movie, a movie where the character doesn't win, or at least he doesn't win the boxing match. He wins, but not that.
Him not winning is what makes it a perfect movie in this case, I think.
Yeah, because he won Adrian.
Yeah, and it's that happens in life, don't it? You try your hardest and sometimes you just don't do it.
But he won respect. He won.
Yeah.
Pride in himself. He stopped being a cheap thug. He started being a man. He won his humanity in that movie. That's really what it was.
Yeah.
So really, really good. Alien.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Says perfect movie.
Alien, I don't necessarily think it's a perfect movie, but I agree that it probably is for everybody else. Aliens, however, especially the director's cut, I think is a perfect movie.
They're two. Weirdly enough, they're two vastly different movies because the first one is basically Jason in space.
Yeah, I've said that.
But much smarter.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody in there is a dumb teenager doing stupid things. I never get tired of that commercial that they have. I think it's for life insurance or something, but it's kind of like all these kids. It's like, let's go hide in the woods. No, let's go hide in the house. We should split up. And the one girl goes, why can't we just get into the running car? And they go, are you crazy? Let's go hide in there with all the machetes. And then they go in, and the guy's behind him, and he just pulls up his mask like, they're too stupid to live.
Yeah.
Alien, they never have that. These guys are generally doing the right thing and doing things smartly. And even when they make a mistake and let him on board, where Sigourney Weaver's like, he can't come on board. He's infected with some bullshit. We don't even know what it is, why that happens because they got betrayed.
Yeah.
So I appreciated, the smartness of it. However, if I'm going to pick between the two and I want to watch one, probably going to be Aliens. And I agree. It's the director's cut because that has more of the maternal stuff for Ripley that I really like. Because she finds Newt and becomes a mother figure to Newt after her daughter's basically grown up and died, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because she was in
57 years in stasis.
Yeah. So I always thought that was dropping some of that, I think hurt that movie a little bit. Not terribly. I mean, but I should say hurt the movie. I say it's improved even more with it in there.
Yeah, it's it took a great movie and made it perfect. That's what
Yeah, I agree.
There's not a bad shot in that movie there either. It's a tension filled masterpiece.
Boone says Godfather 1 and 2. Honestly, I've barely watched those, and when I tried to watch it, I fell asleep. So I need to watch The Godfathers and give them a true chance. Yeah,
you should. They're the kind, they fall in that category of, and I love them, but I don't watch them, once every month or anything. They fall into that, critically acclaimed perfect movie and just, but not necessarily the, it's a fun blast. What am I doing tonight? I think I'm going to pop in both Godfather movies.
It's a slog. I mean,
it can be.
Yeah. And that's my problem with it. I don't know. I'm watching it going, it's not grabbing me for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And I know it's a good movie. I mean, I know it's great, but sometimes there's great movies that you just can't seem to get into for whatever reason. They don't grab you like they should. And everybody said, well, Yoda, you think Flash Gordon is a perfect movie? Yes, I do.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Any other suggestions there? I don't see anything.
He said
Predator.
Predator.
Yeah. It might not be, Citizen Kane level, but it's a great movie, and it is. I tell you, one mark of a perfect movie is that you look at it and you go, when they make sequels to it later, you're like, they should have never made a sequel to that. And I think that's that might be another qualifier is sequels to it or just can't follow up.
Now, of course, Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back, without question, are perfect movies. Or they were until George couldn't stop fucking with them.
Yeah.
But
would you consider those first three a perfect trilogy, though?
Close, very close. Return of the Jedi sticks the landing with Luke perfectly, who is the main character of the entire trilogy, and the finale with him and Vader, and in the Emperor's throne room and everything is absolutely perfect. The problem is that Han and Leia's story ends in Empire for the most part, and they just don't have much to do. I mean, they give them something to do, but emotionally, and arc wise, their arc kind of peaked. It peaked when she said, "I love you," and he says, "I know."
Yeah.
That's the climax of their emotional arc, right? And then after that, they have things to do for the good of the war, of the rebellion, but they don't have any real emotional anything. They don't have anything to do. Where Luke still has a long ways to go to get, to become a Jedi and to reconcile with his father and all that kind of thing. So it's close. It's about 2/3 of the way there. You got to finish the war. Yeah, you got to reconcile Luke. Those 2/3 are done great. Those two big points. That third thing is Han and Leia. What do? They go have a teddy bear picnic.
Yeah.
So it's that part, is the part that just doesn't really. And they tried to say, well, make her the sister, and all that did was just spawn piles of incest jokes for the next 40 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's where I am with that. Now, what if we go a little older? Some of the classics for the ages. I would say Casablanca is a perfect movie.
I don't like that one enough to.
I do.
I
The
don't
first
hate
time
it.
I watched it, I was amazed how much it grabbed me.
No kidding.
And it still works for me every time. I do think the flashback sequence maybe goes on slightly too long.
That's the slog for me on it.
Without it, the emotional gut punches at the end wouldn't work. And it also has, bar none, if the first time you see it, no matter when you see it, I mean, it works at no matter what era you see it, is one of the most hands down funniest moments in movies, where he says, find an excuse to shut this place down. It's like, all right, we're shutting down. It's like, why? He's like, I'm shocked to find that there's gambling in this establishment. Yeah. And the guy runs up to him and goes, here's your winnings, sir. He goes, oh, thank you. It is so perfectly timed. I love it.
Yeah.
Another classic that I love and I think is pretty much perfect is Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Jimmy Stewart in that movie is phenomenal, and I think there's a lot of things that could be easily adapted today. The idea of the powerful and the rich controlling the press.
It's so far-fetched, though.
Oh,
who'd ever believe that?
Who'd ever believe that? Well, 10, 15 years ago, I did think it was far-fetched because there was so much news and so many places to get news, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, how could they, this guy controlled like 4 newspapers, and this was before radio and TV. But definitely before TV. And maybe they had some newsreels in the theater, but a guy could control one state pretty well if he wanted to, which was the point in this. And, and 15 years ago, 20 years ago, I would have thought that's just not possible now because everything's so interconnected. You could get news out. And then now we get to 2021. I realize, oh, wait, yeah, it's very possible because the national news is just, all you have to do is control the national news now and some algorithms from these evil fucks at Facebook and Twitter and Google. And you can manipulate the message any way you want. And you have to go look to find the truth anymore. Yeah. And even then it's getting more and more difficult because they're figuring out ways to shut those people down. So it may not be guys running kids off the road with their wagons full of newspapers anymore, but it's different tools, same thing. Yeah. So yeah, same. I was kind of, that movie's actually become more relevant. It went less relevant, then became more relevant again.
Yeah. I take a classic that I think is a perfect movie is Stalag 17. Have you ever seen that?
What's it called?
Stalag 17. William Holden is in it, and they're prisoners.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah, it's a great movie. It's set in World War II in a German POW camp for downed flyers, American flyers, and it's sort of day-to-day life there. And then this one pilot gets brought in new, and on the way they sabotage a German train before they get to the camp, and there's a spy amongst the prisoners. It's a great movie. It's entertaining. It's got a little bit of everything: comedy, serious war film. It's a great. And William Holden, he's almost. I really.
He's always good. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a good movie.
That's interesting. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, you should definitely check that movie out. It is.
I would say Wizard of Oz, the original one, perfect.
Yeah.
Very, very different in today's style and everything, and yet it works.
What about Gone with the Wind? Would you consider that a perfect movie?
Probably. I can't say that I don't enjoy it when I watch it.
Yeah. I watch it about once a year when it comes on AMC or something, but I don't.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say that you can't find anything wrong with it, but is it one that I go looking for? I watch very often, not too often. For one, it's 7.5 hours or I don't know.
It's probably.
It's a long one. Yeah. But yeah, it's very, very good. Some others, let me think. 12 Angry Men.
And Anatomy for Murder. Both of those I would consider. Have you ever seen? Yeah.
Courtroom. How about Psycho?
Psycho. I don't think I would consider it perfect, but it's pretty close.
Pretty close.
Probably depends on what mood I wake up in the morning. American Psycho, I consider, and that's on my list here. I consider that a perfect movie.
Boone's Beta Unit mentions Sand Pebble and Lawrence of Arabia.
They're
Sand
very
Pebbles
good.
is a classic movie. I wouldn't call it perfect. It's
I don't.
It doesn't grab you like it should.
Same.
It's some of it's also movies that you consider perfect.
Right.
Like I never get tired of Lethal Weapon.
Same here. I was going to put that on my list, and I thought, that might. I've got too many modern movies on my list.
Well, it's easy to put a lot of modern movies on your list, but I mean the Lethal Weapon trilogy, 4 I don't really like very much, but I like the first 3, and they're all basically the same, and they're nothing special. But
the first one especially, though, it's
the first one especially. And you go, well, do you and first 2 even? 3 is when things get a little out of control.
Yeah, it takes a nosedive into Richard Donner's anti-gun obsession. So obviously that puts me off.
Now, one I consider a perfect movie that probably isn't on. In fact, I'm thinking about doing an overlooked on this one. Is the original City Slickers?
It's pretty good. Yeah, it's entertaining.
I think it really speaks to a lot of things. It has a lot of great comedy in it.
Yeah.
But it never goes into farcical, and the sentimental or growth moments in it I feel are earned. And I always enjoy it. I always love that movie when I watch it. So
it's definitely a very sentimental movie. And I've got a few of those on my list here. The one that I've been watching nonstop because it's on, I forget which one of my cable movie channels, but I love it, is Master and Commander. That movie is, to me, there's not a bad second in that movie.
I've only seen it like once, maybe twice. And That's one of the, yeah, I can't call it because I mean, I think part of what makes it a perfect movie is like, do you rewatch it or do you find
Oh
yourself
yeah, I
rewatching it?
rewatch it.
And I don't rewatch that movie
Yeah,
very often.
maybe give it another try though.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I'll watch it again at some point, but it's like if I'm scrolling through and I find something I want to watch, it's probably not on the list.
Mm. Let me run through my list here because I got
okay. Go through your list.
Yeah, Battle Royale. That's probably my all-time favorite movie. The Japanese, the kids get put on an island and what's that?
Never seen it.
Oh,
it's the Japanese Hunger Games. I know. I know about it.
Yeah, it's great. Drive. I love Drive. I think
is that
Drive,
the one with Ryan Gosling?
Yes.
It is a great movie. I've only seen it once or twice, but I know I really enjoyed it.
I've watched that. If I don't watch that once a month, I don't know. The power was out for a month. Is the only thing I can. American Psycho. I already said. The first Terminator movie, I think, is a perfect.
Oh
movie,
yeah,
but not the second one.
I disagree. I think both those are perfect movies.
I think T2 comes very close. The only thing that kind of ruins it for me is I wish John Connor had been a little older in the movie and not such a annoying. I understand what he was doing, but
I disagree. I think he was fine for the.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah.
Taxi Driver. I think Taxi Driver is a perfect movie. L.A. Confidential.
Never seen that. I need to see it. There's a lot I got to put on my list.
Let's see. Ghostbusters, where I said thing. No Country for Old Men. I think that is an absolute masterpiece.
Yeah.
Same with There Will Be Blood. I think that is a perfect movie too.
About Goodfellas, you got that on there?
No, but I should have put that on there.
You should put that on there.
And A Christmas Story with Ralphie and his Red Ryder. That is a perfect movie.
It is.
They show it.
I would almost put Christmas Vacation on there too.
Oh yeah, that's
for what it tries to accomplish. It does it flawlessly.
Yeah, I think so. And then a couple foreign film is a Japanese movie from 2004 called Nobody Knows, and it's just got an emotional punch. It's about these 5 or 6 kids and their mom. They all have a different father but the same mom, and the mom has a new boyfriend she wants to marry, and she just tells them, "Oh, I'll be back in a week," and gives them some money and their apartment and just disappears. And it's them trying to get through. They can't, if they get found out, they'll be all kicked out. So they're trying to hide from the landlord, and they're trying to feed themselves, and bad things happen. It's not a thriller and it's not an action movie or something, but it's nobody does these like slice of life movies with like the emotional impact as the guy that directed it, especially. He did another movie called Still Walking, and they're just like a day in the life or something kind of thing. But man, he packs a lot in them. Both of them I highly recommend.
I'll throw Tootsie on there.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Tootsie is fantastic. It works every time for me.
Yeah, does it really?
Yeah, it does. Because it wouldn't be something that you would think. It manages to be somewhat lighthearted, but I don't know. I mean, just everything seems to work in that movie perfectly. You got Dabney Coleman playing Dabney Coleman. Yeah. You got Hoffman doing a great job for what he's doing. Terry Garr, Bill Murray has one of the best lines, one of the funniest lines, I would say, in all of movies. But there's a lead actor on this show that is he's an older guy. He's taken a liking to Hoffman as Tootsie, as Dorothy Michaels. And he shows up at her apartment a little drunk. And he ends up, I say her, his.
Yeah.
And
don't dead name.
yeah, no kidding. And he's chasing her all around, trying to get in her pants, so to speak. And that's when Murray walks in because he's his roommate. And, kind of catches them a little bit. And then he kind of embarrassed, so the actor excuses himself and leaves. Murray knows about the whole thing, and once the guy leaves, he just looks at him and just says, You slut. And he does it so perfect, Murray. Yeah, you know. Star Trek 2. I'm looking through 1982, which I think is a perfect year in movies.
Oh, it's a good year. Boone's beta unit says Sam Rockwell's Moon. I'd agree with that. Moon is a perfect movie. Have you seen that?
Yes, and I do love the movie. Perfect has got to be something that I find myself looking for, like a Shawshank Redemption. That's a perfect movie.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I would put that on and watch it, enjoy it every time. Moon is great movie, but I don't need to watch it much. You know?
That falls within that gray area of you can look at it and go, yes, that is a perfect film, but not necessarily one I want to watch it.
I do think rewatchability has to be a part of this.
Yeah, I think you're right. Because most of mine are movies that are heavy on the rewatch.
I mean, like I'll watch Dark Crystal a lot. Why? Because I came out when I was a kid and I loved it.
Yeah.
The first Superman movie I think is perfect. I'm sure people could say, well, what about this? What about that? What about the other thing in Superman? Yeah, I agree. All those are flaws. So but it doesn't mean if I put it in, I will enjoy it every single time.
So just going by genre, what would you consider the perfect superhero movie?
Well, that's tough because superhero movies as a genre range from they have all the same subgenres as the main genres: comedy, horror, adventure, dark. So like Dark Knight is probably a perfect superhero movie. But it's really a gangster movie.
Yeah.
That just happens to have Batman.
Yeah, that's sort of the best ones are like that though, aren't they? They're just like, oh, it's this, but we drop Batman in it, or we drop.
But the original Superman movie is truly a paint by numbers superhero movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's nothing more complicated about it. It's Superman being super heroic, saving people and doing Superman things, right? It's very, it has all the generic tropes, because all the superhero movies always have to have some little twist to it. It can't be just a guy saving people. And, it's almost a callback to the old 50s show or from the old cartoons back in the day where they were just being super heroic because that's what you did. And it was a problem to be solved. And they put a little bit in there with his emotional connection to Lois, which is all they needed. And Christopher Reeve was absolutely magical in it as Clark Kent and Superman. And so I think it's, if you want to say a perfect superhero movie, I think that's it.
I'd have to go with Spider-Man 2, Tobey Maguire one.
Yeah, I mean, that's up there. I agree. I don't know why I have not watched them in a while, but the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man trilogy does not hold up for me the way it used to.
No, me neither. But that
I don't know what strong. I don't know what it is or what's wrong with it. It's kind of like the 1989 and 1992 Batman movies. They don't hold to me like they used to.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because it's all the Tim Burton stuff.
I never was a fan of those Tim Burton. I'm not a fan. The only movie that Tim Burton's ever made that I liked is Ed Wood.
That's a great movie.
That is probably a perfect movie.
It is. That is a perfect movie in its own way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also love Beetlejuice.
Yeah, that's pretty.
I never get tired of that one.
Just because you like Alec Baldwin. It's just because you like Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, he doesn't shoot anybody. So that's a surprise.
He does kill it. He does kill himself and his wife from negligence in that one, though. So,
how about Matrix?
The Matrix. Oh, the first one I think is probably a perfect movie. The other two are just
the other two are garbage. But
yeah, dog shit movies.
They're not dog shit movies. They're just they're work and they have problems. I think there's some really interesting themes going on in those two movies that is executed poorly.
Yeah, I would agree with it. And the CGI from that point is so, it's not their fault,
Yeah, their reach extended their grasp.
Yeah.
Exceeded, I mean. Pokemon, the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back. I think that's... No, I'm kidding. Oh, Galaxy Quest.
That's for
I
probably.
would watch. I watch that a lot.
It's
I
very.
would put that in my perfect movie. I know
I
we're
think.
getting kind of my favorite movies, but I mean,
Well, that's
it's
okay.
you can't find anything wrong with that damn movie. It's too
No,
good.
no, there's nothing. Yeah, it's a good one.
We talked about the Lord of the Rings. They mentioned the Harry Potter.
No, I don't. No, no. They're excellent in achievements and what they were, but they're not. I've seen like the first 4 or 5 of them once. I've never cared to revisit them. Nothing about that universe grabs hold of me, And this is just me, of course. I know there's an angry mob of blue hairs right now firing up their
Potterheads, yeah.
yeah, but I don't know.
I don't know. I really enjoy the Harry Potter universe. I'll admit. It's hard to explain. It's like not one of those movies is a perfect movie. None of them are bad, but not one of them is a perfect movie. The third one close. It's really good.
They are what they are.
But as a full story, a full 8-part story, it may be a perfect set of movies.
Yeah, that I would agree with that, because even Marvel hasn't achieved that, because they do their little things in little 3-part trilogies and then they combine them all. But to go like that's nothing else has pulled that off. I think for just one continuous, unbroken story, from one to the next, I'd say that. Yeah.
It's hard to find fault with it as an overall set of movies. In trying to achieve what it would try to achieve and keeping up a level. In fact, I would say the quality got better as they went on. Chris Columbus did a damn good job in establishing the universe.
For sure.
But his cinematography and which maybe works because of the age of the kids for those first 2 movies. But once Alphonse Cuarón came in and kind of tweaked the look a bit, like it's the same sets and everything, but he tweaks the look. He tweaks some of how they act, and he kind of matures it, I guess would be the word. And then Newell comes in and pretty much finishes it out, if I remember right. And I don't know. I think they grew up and got better as time went on, and which is what you want. So they start out as kind of kids movies, and then they're really not by the end. And that's hard to pull off properly.
Yeah.
So
it's hard to find. Yeah. Doc Ock, he said, or Boone says Doc Ock made Spider-Man 2, same as Heath Ledger's Joker. And the reason I mention that is the Joker from 2019, a lot of people think that is a perfect movie. The Joaquin Phoenix Joker.
No, I don't think it's a perfect movie.
Yeah, I like it, but I don't think it's a perfect movie. Because
I think it was a good movie, but I don't find myself wanting to rewatch it. It's not fun.
It's the reason I won't give it perfect movie status. It might have been the best movie that year, but it relies too heavily on pulling stuff from the King of Comedy and that sort of thing.
Perfect musical. I'm gonna pull this one out real quick. Singing in the Rain.
I thought you was going to say Little Shop of Horrors.
No, I don't like that movie at all.
Never seen Singing in the Rain.
Singing in the Rain. I'm not either. I'm not a musical guy. I mean, I like some of them. I mean, I appreciate some of them. Like, okay, is The Sound of Music perfect? Maybe.
Yeah.
It's good. I don't need to watch it very often. I don't.
Doesn't the Wizard of Oz is sort of a musical, isn't it?
The Wizard of Oz is a musical, and it's perfect, but I don't think it's primarily a musical. But Singing in the Rain has, all the dancing in it as well.
What about The Wiz with the sequel to Wizard of Oz with Michael Jackson and the?
That's what I want to do on it. Give me the DVD, and that's what I will do on it. I will create The Wiz. That is a fucking terrible movie.
What about perfect animated movie? No anime, but Western animation.
Western animation. You want to go 2D or 3D?
Never 3D.
Because I mean, there's some perfect 3D.
Yeah,
Pixar,
I don't.
some of Pixar's are perfect.
I mean, you can't. Well, yeah, I would consider The Incredibles the first one a perfect movie.
Incredibles, I would consider Wall-E.
Never seen that.
Up.
Never seen those.
Oh, both of those are fantastic. Ratatouille. They had a string where they could do no wrong.
Yeah.
The first 3 Toy Story movies.
So what about 2D animation then?
2D animation. I'm gonna get a little esoteric here and say something like The Secret of Nim. I don't know why that one really grabs me. Don Bluth.
Yeah.
I like his weird style of animation. But I have to think about that one.
Yeah, me too. Because I can think of anime, but a lot of 2D. But I don't know. Watership Down. That really scarred me as a kid.
Yeah. Watching cute little bunnies tear their own throats out. That's fun.
Tear their guts out. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like. There's a lot of the Disney stuff I really like. Beauty and the Beast is probably a perfect movie. Perfect animated movie, I have to say.
So.
Really well done. Aladdin. Yeah. Aladdin's up there. I'm trying to think of who else made good 2D stuff.
Transformers 1986 don't make the list.
Oh, absolutely it makes the list. Are you kidding? You got the touch, baby.
Yeah.
I mean, if you could inspire a song that ends up in a movie about porno actors in Boogie Nights, I feel like you've created something great.
Boogie Nights is a perfect movie.
I'll tell you, it's not my favorite of his. My favorite of his is Punch Drunk Love. I find that to be the perfect romantic comedy.
Yeah, he's got a new movie coming out. Licorice Pizza.
Yeah, I need to see it.
Yeah, I want to see that so bad. I was telling somebody last night. I was like, they're not like us when it comes to movies, but I said that director can do no wrong. That movie will be great, and it looked like it's right up in his, in his forte, so to speak. I really look that might be the first movie that I'm actually legit excited to see this year.
So yeah, he says that Heath Ledger's Joker, like Doc Ock is like Heath Ledger's Joker. Look, I think Doc Ock was fine in Spider-Man 2. Yeah. I think he was a good villain. I think he was strong, but Heath Ledger's Joker was at another level.
People keep saying that, but I don't see it, and I often was like, is it because he died? Because it's fine, but I don't.
You don't see what, like Heath Ledger's? You don't see it?
No, I don't see this brilliant take on it.
You're blind, man.
I mean, it's better than any Joker before him.
He came up with something that nobody had ever seen before.
Yeah, is that what it is?
His mannerisms and the way he did it, the way he embodied. I mean, his voice, even. Hello, Commissioner. All that weird way he handled himself. I don't know. It was like nothing you were expecting for the Joker, and yet you completely accepted it, and in fact to the point that it became a whole new thing.
Do you think it's just because I was never really a fan of Batman and the Joker that I don't get it? Maybe. Is that what's holding me back?
I mean, if you want the perfect Joker, like the classic perfect Joker from the comics, like who did it best, it's no doubt it's Mark Hamill in the animated series.
Yeah.
He was the best Joker in my opinion. But if you want to take a really good take on the Joker that isn't what you would have expected, then Heath Ledger is it. Like to me, Jack Nicholson was Jack Nicholson with a weird prosthetic on his face.
Yeah, I agree.
I never felt like he was a Joker. I felt he was Jack Nicholson playing the Joker.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't a bad take. I mean, he wasn't terrible or anything. He didn't come across like the Joker to me. And this guy doesn't either. If you're in his own way, if you're thinking about him as, but he does, because he just wants chaos, So, but I mean, if you want, who does the best classic Joker? Well, that's Mark Hamill, hands down, no doubt. Amen.
Like I said, I'm not a fan of Batman or Joker. So to me, it was always like, he plays a pretty good psycho in it. I liked it, but it did not. I see everybody around me like, oh god, and I was like, it's pretty cool and all, but
I'm surprised. I mean, as many times they've done Batman because they're dark and gritty and everybody loves them, I'm still surprised that Marvel hasn't milked Wolverine more and the X-Men more. Since I mean, I know that they bought 20th Century Fox, and there's a lot to figure out, and I'm taking it as a good sign that they are taking their time and they're not just whipping out new X-Men, new Wolverine shit just because they have it now. I want to make a quick cash grab. That they're taking their time to introduce them to the MCU and all that. I'm fine with all that. That's what they're doing, because I think there are alternate better takes on the X-Men that they didn't do in this one, but. Anyhow, we've been talking for 2 hours. I was not planning to go this long. So we should probably wrap it up. So thank you very much, Sean. I had a good time.
Oh, me too, man.
It's always fun. All of you that are still watching and haven't, gone face down into your cornflakes yet, we really appreciate it. We are, of course, the lastmovieoutpost.com, where you'll find your best news, streaming, movies, and entertainment news. We are the cool news now, and don't you forget it. You can reach us at contact us at lastmovieoutpost.com. I am Drunken Yoda 1 on Twitter. You can DM me, or if you want to just at me, I'm fine with that. You are not on Twitter. You have no interest in being on Twitter or being contacted, or
Well, no, you can find me on. If you like guns, and even sometimes movies, at scatteredshots.com.
And
you can find me on Instagram, but I don't use Twitter too much. I get too mean to the leftist celebrities on there, so I did. They won't let me stay long.
Well, you be careful now. We know they'll shoot you.
Yeah, Alec Baldwin will come gunning for you.
Alec Baldwin will come shoot you in the head. So anyway, that's where you can find me. Of course, our main Twitter is @MovieOutpost. You can find us on Facebook /LastMovieOutpost. And of course, if you go to lastmovieoutpost.com, you'll find all the links to all our social sites. Please join us. Be a part of the group. Be a part of the cool people. That's where we are now, and that's where we're going to stay. And we are always going to give you the most honest takes on movies and entertainment. We're going to do our best to not let politics color what we're doing, or at least give you an alternate take that maybe you're not getting from the main entertainment websites out there. So please join us, lastmovieoutpost.com, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We need all the help you can get. We are almost up to 700 subscribers. We hope to get over to 1,000 sometime in 2022 and keep it going. So please share out all this content.
And there's also a donation link in the bottom of the here.
Don't give me $1. If you see me standing on the side of the road with a little sign, maybe a kid, just to get your, that's movieoutpost.com. We need money.
Yeah. Dancing with the sandwich board, just like in John McClane and
yes. Well, we won't go that. I'm pretty sure I won't get any money for that. I'll get something, but it won't be money.
Yeah.
Right between the ribs. Cool.
Yeah.
So, anything else from you, Sean?
No, I think that's about it for the day.
All right. Well, I think we had a good one.
See you guys next week. Yeah.
Yep. And we don't know what we'll talk about, but hopefully, I think some more movies are coming out. It's starting to pick up again, and then we get into FU. It's January.
Yeah.
Though it's hard to say. I mean, everything is, there's a lot of new shows and stuff coming out. I think the Book of Boba Fett comes out at the end of the year.
I think it comes out this month, don't it?
Yeah, like December 31st.
I thought it was like the 22nd or something, but I might be wrong on that.
Yeah, well, when it comes out, we'll be talking about it, as well as we'll keep talking about
we got our
stuff.
Yeah, and on the website, we'll have our everybody's top 5 best of the year article coming up pretty soon. So
yes, that's true. We've got that coming, and we I personally, I am finishing up. I'm almost ready to I've been studying for an exam that I have to take. Once that's done, I think after the first of the year, I will get back into making a lot more videos. So keep your eyes out for that. We have more overlooks, more various commentaries. I've got 2 more parts to the top 10 Star Trek episodes coming. So all of that will be coming in 2022, and even more James Bond that I've been doing. So we've got a lot that's coming, and I just haven't been able to work on any videos because, I don't get paid enough. We need more people to come to this site, and so I can make this a full-time job. That would be wonderful. So anyway, take care of yourselves, and we will see you next week on Outpost Frequencies.